Big follows Josh Baskin, a 13-year-old boy. Why does Wikipedia and IMDb both say that he's 12 when he clearly says that he's 13 in the film?
I really am 13.
All a 13-year-old boy wants is a 13-year-old girl.
I'm 13 years old.
13.
Just listen, guys, you might learn something.
So, what are you, 15, 16?
Played by David Moscow. He loses out on a girl he has a crush on who prefers an older guy and also feels left out when he's too short for a carnival ride. So while he's depressed, he comes across a fortune-telling machine wishing that he were big.
I wish I were big.
It's a very misleading wish, isn't it? I mean, he could have just become the most well-endowed 13-year-old boy in school. He could have become a giant. He needed to be more specific, is what I'm saying. Why not just wish to be a grown-up?
He's out of his mind.
Anyway, he soon wakes up to become Tom Hanks. His mum freaks out and thinks he's been kidnapped, while Josh and his best friend Billy, played by the douchebag from Pet Sematary 2, try to hunt down the carnival ride once again. He starts to live in a hotel in New York, having to wait 6 weeks just to get the list of the carnivals, and during that time he gets a job and then even promoted due to his understanding of kids' toys, falls for a grown woman called Susan, played by Elizabeth Perkins, neglects Billy until he snaps out of his boner, breaks the truth to her, locates the machine, makes another wish, and returns home to continue his normal teenage life like nothing happened. Just a regular summer, really. Oh, and John Lovitz is in this. Nothing to say. He's funny. I just like John Lovitz and wanted you to know that he was in it.
Wow, thanks.
Now, originally, John Landis was actually considered to direct this picture, but he turned it down to make Coming to America instead, which is when Penny Marshall took the spot. And good thing too, because she became the first ever female filmmaker to direct a movie that grossed over $100 million. She wanted Tom Hanks immediately to play adult Josh, but he couldn't commit due to scheduling conflicts. So Robert De Niro was the next choice, but he demanded more money. Dennis Quaid turned down the part to make Everybody's All-American. Harrison Ford also rejected it, as did Jeff Bridges and Albert Brooks, and others considered were Gary Busey, Steven Guttenberg, Bill Murray, Judge Reinhold, Michael Keaton, and Robin Williams. After being unable to land Hanks or De Niro, the director really wanted John Travolta, but the studio absolutely refused to allow it, considering him to be box office poison at the time.
Are we trying to fix this thing, or are we trying to place blame?
David Moscow was originally cast as Billy, Josh's best friend, because he looked nothing like Robert De Niro. But soon, when Tom Hanks became available to take on the part, Moscow's role was switched. He actually performed every single scene in the film, adult or young Josh, so that Tom Hanks could then do them again and copy his actions as accurately as possible to capture the realism of an actual 13-year-old boy. Deborah Winger was considered for the part of Susan, but she was unable to commit due to pregnancy, and it was actually her who suggested Elizabeth Perkins, who landed the role. The thing is, nobody cared for the script one bit until Robert De Niro showed interest, and that's when it became a big deal.
I don't get it.
The movie was released on June the 3rd, 1988, and received universal acclaim. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Screenplay and Best Actor for Hanks, and was listed by Bravo as the 23rd funniest movie. The American Film Institute ranked it as the 10th greatest fantasy film and ended up grossing $151 million worldwide. It only spawned a bunch of rip-offs that all tried to be different, and only one was actually any good, and you know it! The movie was actually turned into a Broadway musical in 1996, and in 2014, Fox announced that a TV remake was in production, though it's only loosely based on the original film. But as of making this video, it's still not materialised. The original is a charming little story with a great message. As Hanks becomes more invested in being an adult, Billy flips out and his friend soon realises that he misses the lack of responsibility of being a child. He misses his youth, something almost everybody can relate to. When he first meets Susan, she's an uptight cow who just wants to get laid. But Hanks shows her how to have fun and she really becomes laid back. She forgets John Hurd, who's a douchebag in this, and senses that childlike nature that Josh has. It's really charming. All of the acting performances are great, especially Hanks. He really does gain the sympathy, like when he first stays at the hotel and hears all of the scary sounds of New York and he's all alone, so he just cries in bed. It's heartbreaking. Or how about when he's got a stomachache, so he rings home and pretends to be hosting a survey to find out what medicine they would give their kids because he doesn't know how to take care of himself. Or even when he tries to break the truth to Susan, and this is just subtle but gut-wrenching stuff.
I want to go home.
In fact, there's a really subtle moment here. Susan goes to Josh's house wanting to get laid as she's depressed because John Hurd is treating her like dirt, but Josh, obviously being innocent, just goes to sleep. At first, she's annoyed and disappointed, but then there's just a few split seconds where she lets out a small smile, finding it quite sweet that he's not like other guys and doesn't just want sex. The famous piano scene is also really charming. Josh and his boss start doing this dance number, and the director actually had a set of body doubles on set in case the two actors couldn't perform the dance, but they were adamant that they wouldn't be needed, and they succeeded. The comedy is amazing, and much like Forrest Gump, the character is absolutely adorable when it comes to his innocence, which adds to the humour.
She'll wrap her legs around you so tight you'll be begging for mercy.
Well, I'll stay away from her then.
The film just has a childhood feel that takes you back to yours. I mean, he gets paid and he and Billy just spend it all on junk food and toys. It's such a wonderful story. But what issues do I have? Don't worry, there's nothing big.
I don't get it.
Okay, so Billy often has to travel from New Jersey to New York by himself to visit Josh, but is this really safe? I mean, I get that his parents are completely unaware, but how does he not get attacked or anything? How is he this brave or independent? It's New York!
My birthday's November 3rd.
Really? Because the milk carton says differently. Got your own birthday wrong there, mate.
Listen, what are you trying to do? Get us all fired?
Now, a lot of people slated Jack for Robin Williams not acting the right age. And in this one, although Hanks is mostly accurate, there's a few times when he isn't. I mean, what 13-year-old acts like this? Even Billy finds him gross.
Gross.
There's a scene where Susan's just trying to talk to him and he can't even concentrate. He looks out windows, picks up phones, switches radio stations. I mean, I'd understand if he had bad ADHD, but it doesn't act like this in any other scene. In fact, they go to the New York City Department of Consumer Affairs for information on the carnival rides, but New Jersey isn't in New York, so why would they have that? Also, how does he even get a job? Wouldn't he need ID? I mean, we are shown a fake one later, I guess, but he also used a fake social security number. Someone calls him out on it and he makes up a few extra digits, but without a valid social security number, he won't be able to get paid, which he somehow does. Enough to buy his own apartment. And he gets a job so easily. And from my experience, it is not easy to get a job. Especially in New York. This is downright terrifying. Who would market this? This isn't charming, it's horrifying. And the aforementioned phone calls, I have to question. One of them, he actually calls and claims that he has their son, but even in 1988, this would have been traceable by the police, and the film would have been over pretty damn quickly. But why does nobody question the motives here? I mean, Josh is 13 and kisses a grown woman. That's just one thing, but then he touches a boob and they even have sex! And apparently, in the original script, she wasn't even going to wear a bra for that scene. I mean, I get that she didn't know, but when she finds out, she's more heartbroken that she lost a boyfriend rather than the fact she had sex with a minor. She never really takes this into consideration. Hell, he walks down the street, transforms back into his child self, and there's this whimsical music playing as they give each other a sweet smile. No, you banged a minor! How does he transform so quickly anyway? Last time it took him overnight to change. Also, the next day, Hanks and Susan are both really happy at work because they did the naughty, but my question is, why is she so happy? I mean, he just lost his virginity, so I get him being happy, but come on, a guy's first time is absolutely terrible. We all know it, and he's 13, so it'd be even worse. She'd be highly disappointed. As an adult, he even spies on that girl he had a crush on. Is that pedophilia? I'm so confused. So after Josh tells her the truth, she doesn't believe him. Shocker. But when he's asleep, she goes through his wallet and finds gum. The next day, she asks him to get her some, and it's put together like this big dramatic moment, but like, why does this matter? It was his wallet. So obviously he's going to choose the same gum. In fact, what would this prove? Someone can buy different kinds of gum, you know. And she also seems convinced by his story really quickly. She finds the card that says his wish is granted, and that seems to be enough for her. And then later on, John Hurd ridicules the idea that a child would spend $19 on a comic book, and that is what makes her realise that he was telling the truth. What? My point is, she believes this ridiculous claim incredibly easily.
Maybe you could come with me.
No. No.
Why not?
I've been there before.
You screwed a minor before?
10 years? Who knows? Maybe you should hold on to my number.
Ew, stop that! Oh well, at least now that she knows he's a kid, she only kisses him on the forehead. Doesn't make it okay. You had sex with a child. Speaking of which, here's a weird bit of trivia for you. Josh's baby sister Rachel has never been identified. Yeah, she's not listed in the credits and her identity to this very day has never been recovered. That's really creepy. Despite these issues, it's still unbelievably charming, regardless of the paedophilia. It's adorable, hilarious, well acted, and a certainly questionable family classic.